Hello, my beautiful fellow space blobs. As always, it is such an honor to get to sit here with you and chat about life and be ourselves as we explore what it means to be in this tender experience that can be so overwhelming at times, beautiful at times, everything in between. I have just been so appreciating the conversations and the comments over the last few weeks as I've been sharing more of my struggles and where I have just been feeling overwhelmed. There's a lot going on behind the scenes here before I sit down for a chat, and I do think it's important to bring those elements of myself into the conversation. I also think today's chat is going to be just a really nice breath of fresh air and a really balm for the soul. I think Taurus energy is very much that balm for the soul, that soothing, that coming back to some really beautiful energy that can hold us. And I have a really deep love for this energy, so I'm very excited to chat today about Taurus season 2023 and get ourselves kind of associated with it and feeling through it and connected to this energy that is just so beautiful and I think so essential in the journey through life. I know for myself, I have a lot of 8th house and Scorpio placements, which is kind of the oppositional energy to Taurus. So I'm always very drawn to Taurus energy because it is so much about the beauty of life and how we can honor that and connect with it more deeply. So let's get into today. I'm going to chat a little bit about the overarching themes of Taurus, some of the stereotypes, and then we'll get into some of the themes for this season. I'm going to go through some transits that are going to be happening over the next few weeks, and then we'll pull some cards and we'll just get ourselves nice and settled in and explore together. And I'm really looking forward to this chat with you all. Taurus, in its most essential form, is really represented by this idea of the Empress, the sacred cow, the oxen pulling the cart forward, which those are all very interesting symbols, right? Like the Empress is so much about allowing the process to happen, and some of those more cart oxen vibes are very much about hardworking and pushing forward and determination. And I think that is part of the inherent quality of working with Taurus energy. It is both about being really committed to something and moving forward, as well as learning how and when to stop pushing and allowing for help, allowing for resources, allowing for divine to hold us. And that really is the beautiful balance here with working with Taurus energy. It's the fixed earth sign. So it really encapsulates for me an important quality of earth sign energy, which is that we plant a seed and we don't get immediate results, right? We work with it over time. It's the way we experience creativity through the process, through the surrender of allowing that process to be messy, to be confusing, to be mysterious at times, but then also to hold us and support us with kind of that mystical ingredient when an idea comes in, a connective thought comes in, one of those synchronistic moments comes in, and the process of working with both of those. I think Taurus is also often associated with things like spring and fertility, and not just physical fertility, emotional, spiritual idea fertility, the ideas that come and spring through us. We can be creatively vibrant in so many different ways. And this is a sign that's ruled by Venus. So at its heart, this is also a sign that is ruled by how we fall in love with being in our bodies, which I think for some of us can be really challenging. I know for myself, I have good and bad days with this because I have a lot of sensory overwhelm. And, I have to remember how to be in my body in this lifetime in a way that feels really good to me and practice into that. And so this is also a sign that often will ask us, how are we connecting to our senses And how are we doing that in a way that reminds us of the beauty of life? And everybody's going to have a different map of that. It's going to be completely unique to each of us. So I love this sign for all of these reasons. And, Tauruses are often teased for things like being lazy or slow or stubborn. Tauruses can often be teased for either being obsessed with nature and wanting to be like out camping and just relaxing in nature, or loving to be home, curled up with a blanket on the favorite snacks and being super cozy. But I think Tauruses are also known, in my mind at least, for overworking and maybe not taking enough of a break, not knowing when to stop because of that kind of fixed earth sign energy. It's just like total devotion, go, go, go. And so I think like some of these stereotypes about the laziness or the slowness can sometimes be really counteracted by this other modality of pushing really hard. So it's a very interesting dynamic going on there with some of the stereotypes. But when I started to think about the deeper meanings of Taurus, a whole bunch of questions came up for me. So you can play with these questions, maybe explore them on your own. They're questions that I love to ask myself, especially this time of year as the sun is getting brighter and as the spring is returning. So here are some of the questions that for me represent that deeper meaning of Taurus. What would we do if we weren't always pressed for time? What brings meaning and beauty into life? What would I do with the precious resources of my energy and my life force if I am allowed to direct my own life path? What respect do I give myself and my own innate rhythm? What projects or ideas do I need to give time to in order for them to blossom? Can I let go of some resistance to myself and to the world? Am I open to receiving help, love, and support? And do I have to carry it all on my own? And that last question I think is really important with working with Taurus energy. I think all the fixed signs have a tendency to be very self-sufficient. There's this kind of focused drive that's really on making it happen and taking the responsibility and devoting the energy to it. So it's really important with Taurus energy to remember that we don't have to carry it all on our own. We don't have to hook ourselves up to the cart and walk 10,000 miles alone. And I think that's going to be a really important theme for this year. So I wanted to talk about the themes for this particular Taurus season. We're coming to the end of Taurus North Node, which has been a really powerful and potent time. And this year we are going to have a node shift. So this season is kind of also a culmination of exploring some of the themes around the Taurus North Node. And so some of the themes, and this more questions, I just have a lot of questions this month. Here are some of the questions that are kind of representing the themes of the season. What are we straining against in life? So I think, all of us are at some level, straining to get something done, straining to uphold something, straining to keep something running, straining to keep something from leaving, whatever it may be. And we're girding ourselves and are holding our muscles tight. We maybe are holding our thoughts tight. So what are we straining against in life right now? And it's just a nice season to acknowledge what that is. We don't have to stop straining overnight, but we can at least check in with ourselves. What changes or identities that we think we need to force onto ourselves no longer need to be forced? So this kind of goes hand in hand with what we're straining against. Are we pushing ourselves to continue to be the person people expect us to be? Maybe you're somebody who does one line of work, but you have this passion for something else. And people think it's really weird if you were just to focus on that passion or that interest, or to be honest about something that's changing in yourself. But we feel the heaviness of that identity of who we think we need to be, who people expect us to be, who we think people expect us to be, which sometimes people don't actually have as big expectations of us as we have for ourselves. So just thinking about what identities are no longer fitting and what identities do we no longer want to uphold. The next theme is exploring what feels good. So not to be more productive or viable, right? Because a lot of times I think we'll think of things that we want to do, but we're going to be thinking about it in terms of how it will be part of our success map. It'll be part of how we prove that we're allowed to be here. It'll be part of our productivity. Not that it will just be something that feels good because it feels good. And I think also this is important because just taking a moment to give ourselves the permission to have something in our lives, experience something just because it feels good, a nap, that dessert, that extra long walk. I wanted to say nap again. I think napping is kind of a Taurus season thing. We judge so much of the things that just feel good to us. And so I think this is a really beautiful season to just acknowledge what feels good and let ourselves feel how good that feels. It reminds me of that Mary Oliver poem, I think it's Wild Geese, that says, "Let the soft animal of your body love what it loves." It's very much that kind of energy in Taurus season. Let me see, what's the next theme we have going on here? Stop chasing after every goal and explore the process. This one I can relate to so hard. I think I'm always kind of chasing after a goal. There's always a there, and we're trained to have a there to pursue in life. And that can be a really useful tool at times to motivate ourselves. However, the there always disappears when we get there. That's a rule of life. There always disappears when we get there because there's a new there. And so I think one of the central tenets of working with Taurus energy is that we can just be in the process without needing to accomplish something. And can we? And how do you feel about that? And what emotions come up when you explore that idea? Because I think I could do a lot of, I could spend a whole day just exploring that one theme. Releasing goals that no longer feel like they are relevant to you. That's another theme. This one's hard, actually. I think so many of us will have goals that feel very tender, that maybe we made 5 years ago or 10 years ago or even 2 years ago. And it feels like if we let them go, we're letting go of our drive, our motivation, our sense of self, maybe even our sense of security. So this can be a really tender one to explore. What goals that we just don't want to hold. They're feeling heavy. They're feeling clunky. It is tender. It can feel very emotional to explore this one, but also I think kind of a relief too. And then also finally, the final theme, and maybe one of my favorite ways to work with Taurus energy, is to take the time to ground and get away from technology. So it doesn't mean having to quit everything, but finding those moments throughout the month where you can just put the phone away, turn off all the electronics, and just be here in the physical. So those are the big themes. It's a lot to work with. It's a lot of exploring. It's a lot of resetting. It's a lot of honesty with ourselves about where we're pushing and where we are longing for something different to happen. So let's get into some of the transits and aspects that are kind of shaping up this conversation. So the sun enters Taurus on April 20th. And right after that, we actually have Mercury retrograde. So Mercury retrograde is pretty much going to ride through almost the entirety of Taurus season. It starts on April 21st and goes till May 14th in Taurus. So this Mercury retrograde in Taurus is so much about stepping outside of the traditional way of moving forward, right? Mercury retrogrades are all about letting go of our attachment to linear time and to control, and to getting back into more of the circular, rhythmic nature of the world. So does the traditional way of pushing forward and getting things done work? Are you allowed to smell the roses, take a detour, get lost in something that seems like a distraction but is actually maybe feeding your soul? Is there such a stark dichotomy between staying accountable and choosing a softer approach? These are some of the central questions that are going to come up for this Mercury retrograde. And it's a really great opportunity to just kind of think about what that is. And I will be putting out a little worksheet, and we're going to be having a chat about this energy over on my Patreon if you are looking for support, because I know so many of us really long for support when it comes to Mercury retrogrades, how to work with them, how to integrate them. So I'd love to see you there. If you get the chance to join me, I would love to see you there. So that's going to be a big flavor of this Taurus season, is that Mercury retrograde. And it's going to help us. I think it's going to help us with that resetting, reevaluating, and really seeing our life with fresh eyes. On May 1st, we have Pluto going retrograde in Aquarius. So Pluto just moved into Aquarius at the end of March, and will be moving out of Aquarius about a month later in June. So we're going back into Capricorn. So we're having this first taste of Pluto in Aquarius. And I have a whole video on that. But the point here is going to be, it's a reflection on noticing what new paths are opening, because Pluto in Aquarius is going to be a lot about very long range new paths, new ways of being opening up. So this is a really great opportunity over the course of this month to reflect on what you're noticing shifting there and just kind of incorporate it and take a breath. On May 5th, that's the other thing about this Taurus season. We are in the heart of eclipse season. So on May 5th, we have our second eclipse of eclipse season. It's a full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio. And the first one was Aries new moon solar eclipse that happened right before Taurus season began. So we're also modulating through a Taurus season full of eclipse energy, which is about releasing and shedding skins and just feeling through where we are now. And this full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio is going to be trining Mars in Cancer and opposing Uranus in Taurus. Pretty powerful. And I know a lot of messaging around this is going to be very kind of dramatic and talking about, oh my gosh, shaking up the world. But for me, this is just really about acknowledging everything we've learned over the last couple of years, or a year and a half or so, of the South Node in Scorpio. What have we learned about our haunted houses, about our shadows, about the places we have deep fear? What have we learned about where we long to get support and love? What are we willing now to let go of? What skins are ready to be shed? We'll get more into detail about that full moon in our Moon Magic chat, but I just want to acknowledge that here in this chat. Soon after that full moon lunar eclipse, we will have Venus entering Cancer on May 7th. I love Venus in Cancer. It's actually my natal placement. For me, this is just soul medicine. Love comes in many forms, and are we allowing ourselves to take it? This is such a nurturing, mothering energy. So taking care of ourselves really, really deeply and profoundly is going to be a big theme as Venus moves through Cancer. We also have a big shift because Jupiter on May 16th is moving into Taurus and out of Aries. And Jupiter spends about a year in each sign that it is in. And so Jupiter and Taurus, this is a beautiful one. This is about going to be building our connection to safety, to love, to connection, to feeling that we are allowed to be safe. And I know a lot of suggestions and conversations about this are going to be about, finance and money. But we all know that that's, a symbol of something, right? It can be a symbol of a corrupt system. It can also be a symbol of how we're feeling about ourselves. And I don't think this is about being perfectionist, right? And being like, I love myself so much and I only love myself so much and being really strict about it. It's about softening into, am I allowed to be at peace? Am I allowed to feel safe? What is my relationship to safety and security? And asking some of those deep questions. I just think this will also be a very supportive transit for helping those of us who are longing for healing, longing for physical healing, longing for just a breath to help us along. So I'm really looking forward to this year with Jupiter and Taurus. We're getting close to the end of Taurus season at this point. We have a new moon in Taurus on May 19th. It is just a regular old new moon, and it is sextiling both Neptune in Pisces and Mars in Cancer. So a full-on flowing energy here. Let what is easy be easy, and let what is beautiful hold you. It is a moment, I think, after eclipse season, after some of these seismic shifts, to just feel that energy. Finally, as we end Taurus season, we have Mars entering Leo, which is a really great combo. Very fun, very playful, very innovative, can be a very great time for new ideas to spring to life. And that can look however you want it to look. It doesn't have to be just about external expansion. It can look however you want, and we'll talk about that more in the coming weeks. And then the sun enters Gemini on May 21st. So it's a pretty powerful Taurus season, I would say, and there's a lot moving through, a lot changing. And I think there's just this sense that we've been through some things the last 3 years, and now it's about kind of planting our feet on what is next and figuring out what that is, getting ourselves oriented, getting back into touch with like, okay, I'm here. What does that mean? I'm shuffling my deck right now so we can see what cards come out. I like to pull a card for essentially each week of the season. Ace of Wands, beautiful. Haven't seen that card for a little while, I feel like. And there is that sense, I think, with Jupiter moving into Taurus. I think even with the eclipse season, there's a sense that cycles are ending and cycles are beginning. And I know Aries season is often associated with that, but I think Taurus expands upon that idea in really meaningful, connective ways. King of Swords, love that as well. Very clear energy here, actually. It's not very muddy, which I think is really interesting, right? Because we've worked with actually some pretty mysterious energy over the last few years. There's been a lot of kind of murky, kind of being in the mud feelings, and it's been very sometimes just what is going on. And then 3 cards came out, so I guess we'll be doing 3 cards. We have the Knight of Cups. I love that energy so much. 3 of Pentacles, 9 of Pentacles. Very grounding, which I love. Okay, let's get into this. Ace of Wands. Ace of Wands is so clear and simple in some ways. I always like to say with this energy, yes, it's new springs of life, right? It's new openings, it's new sprouts, it's new ideas, sudden like bursts of ideas. However, the Ace of Wands always comes after a season of darkness and mystery. It needs that darkness and mystery in order for this to exist. And so this card also holds us in maybe one of our most vulnerable places when we maybe feel that things just are never going to get clear again. And that's the beauty of this card. I think sometimes, when we're talking, just breakthroughs and ideas and energy coming, like that's great. But what's really going on here is this is holding us and showing us that life can happen again, that there are new pathways that are able to hold us, that when maybe we thought all hope was lost, the answer would never come, that there is something there for us. And that to me is maybe one of the most beautiful things in the world. It's gonna make me cry. I just think about all of you and myself as well, who have going through some really, really intense exploration and how much we need that. So I'm feeling it. Okay, we have next, as we move deeper into Taurus season, we have the King of Swords. Now, this guy is all about discernment and clarity and knowing. And he's kind of, it makes me think of when you know something, you can't unknow it. And a lot of the questions I was asking at the beginning of this chat about, what identities are holding you back? What are you fighting against? What changes are you longing for? What changes scare you a little bit? I think the King of Swords for me is that clear knowing that sometimes just happens. You'd be sitting there going on a walk or going on your commute or whatever it is, and it's just something you'll just know, and you can't unknow it, and you just have to kind of see it. But there's also that relief, and I think that's a really big theme for this season as well. Both of these are very clear seeing energies, and I really like that. I really love the end of this reading too, because as we get to the second half of Taurus season, we start working with Venus in Cancer, Jupiter in Taurus, which, oh my gosh, what loving energies those are, like so beautiful. We're getting this Knight of Cups, and Knight of Cups is all about the beauty and poetry of life. For me, this is the ultimate romantic, right? And of course, that can have a downside. Like sometimes we need that grounding. Sometimes we need to be practical. However, he is such an important ingredient in our lives. This being, this energy right here is the one that will set up a picnic and just go sit out in the park and just enjoy, or whatever it is. You might not like picnics. But whatever it is, letting ourselves enjoy it. And this being such an important ingredient in life, it doesn't necessarily make us more productive. It doesn't make us a cog in the machine. It doesn't maybe, make us rich or wealthy or dominating, right? Maybe it doesn't do any of those things, but it is valid. It's immensely valid and important that we give ourselves moments to play with this energy. And it does, in turn, bring more vitality to our lives and can mean more productivity and all of that, but it's not the goal. And I think it's important for us to sometimes have non-goal oriented enjoyment in life. Now we're ending the reading with 2 Pentacles cards, which is very fitting for Taurus season as we get to that new moon in Taurus and as we close out this season. And these cards are so beautiful. It's really interesting too, because they actually speak to 2 very different strands of grounded energy. 3 of Pentacles is all about working together, letting others help you, letting people with expertise come in, and you can bring your expertise and everybody can create something new together. And 9 of Pentacles is about the independent person, the person who has made some sacrifices, maybe has been dedicated to what they really, really care about, but also kind of feels that, they're on their own path. And I think this is a really important element of Taurus season in general. Like I mentioned, it is both about being willing to dedicate to something and put in those hours or make those sacrifices, of course, and really decide to move towards something that matters to us and have that individual experience. But it's equally important that in the points where we need help, we allow for help. We allow for help, energetically as well as practically. And this is going to be a balancing, I think, that we're going to be exploring during this season, and kind of seeing where we fall in that process, where maybe we're longing to have a little bit more independence and devotion to something that's ours and is our journey and ours journey alone, and where we are maybe longing to really receive help. And what does that look like? We'll see, right? So as usual, these season videos, I always have a plan of them being kind of to the point and clear, and then I end up chatting for half an hour. But this has been so fun, and it's put me in such a great mood. I woke up feeling a little sensitive this morning, so getting to sit and chat with y'all always puts me in happy spirits. And I would love to see you over on Patreon. Like I mentioned, we're going to be going through all of this energy in the coming weeks. Mercury retrograde, Jupiter and Taurus. I'm going to be just offering up a lot of resources and help along this path. So I'd really, really love to see you there. I'm even also hoping to do some activations and explorations around Mercury and Jupiter and around the eclipses as well. So I'd love to see you there. I really am so proud of that space and what I offer there. I would also love to see you on my website or Instagram and here as well. Every comment, every like, every subscription makes such a world of difference. I really want this soft, beautiful approach to this world to have more of a voice and a presence in the astrology and tarot worlds. And so every time that you contribute here, it allows me to bring more of this energy into this space and change it around a little bit and make some waves. So thank you so much for being here, my beautiful friends. We will chat so very, very soon. Have a beautiful Taurus season in the weeks ahead.